Choosing the right contractor for your remodel can feel like a gamble, with the fear of falling victim to shoddy workmanship, hidden fees, and endless delays causing sleepless nights. The anxiety of trusting someone with your home and hard-earned money is real, but making the right choice is crucial for a successful renovation. This video will guide you through the essential steps to find a reliable contractor, ensuring your remodel goes smooth, efficient, and delivers the results of your dreams with none of the nightmares. Let's dive in. My name is Marc Devisse. Welcome back to Tri-Town Construction's channel, where we are rebuilding Southwest Florida one home at a time, to understanding the importance of choosing the right contractor. There's so many things that go into play when choosing the right contractor. You have to remember, you're gonna be in a relationship with this contractor, home builder, for could be 6 months, could be over a year. You know, some of these projects are a long time. So you want to be able to have friendly yet professional relationship with your contractor. So when they call or when you call, they pick up, and there's going to be issues. There's going to be problems throughout the project. There always is. That's what a contractor is hired to do, is deal with those problems. And if there's an open line of communication, and this is a partnership, that cooperative construction, we call it, it's vital that you get along and you're not going into the business relationship. You know, price is important and costs are important, but if you have the lowest price, but you cannot stand who you're working with and the people that they work with, it's going to be a long job. And is that worth the peace of mind or the quality of life to maybe have the lowest price? Make sure that you understand who you're hiring. What kind of company are they? Are they part of the community? Who are their employees? Who will be working with directly? Is there a project manager? Are you working directly with the owner? Another thing is, in Southwest Florida and Florida in general, we need to be licensed and insured contractors, but that's the minimum standard, right? It's not that difficult to be licensed and insured. So dig deeper, Google, find out who the owner of the company is. What have they personally done for the community? What are they doing with their staff? Are their staff happy to be there? Talk to some of them. You know, that tells a lot. What is the turnover rate? Is there a big turnover rate in the company and the project management side and the sales side? You know, you can ask these questions. Getting to know your contractor is one of the most important steps. You know, if they've been in business a while, you know, are they fair with their pricing? You know, you really don't usually want to go with the lowest price contractor. Sometimes they've forgotten things, or they're inexperienced, or it might be a fluke and they forgot a big line item in the estimate. And then halfway through, they got that light bulb moment. Oh no, you know, we forgot. And then what do? Do you tell them you got to finish it? They can't finish it. You're going to pay more. You know, it becomes problematic. So understanding who you're hiring, getting to know them on a deeper level, not just, hey, what's your price? What are you doing? Okay, you're hired. No, find out who they are, what they're about, and if you feel like you could be in this business relationship for the length of your project, and even after your project. If there's a warranty issue, are they going to be around? Are they going to honor their word? That's what you're really going after. And unfortunately, there's a lot of really slick talkers out there who will make you believe that they're your best friend and have your best interest at heart. Sometimes that's not their intention. So really, you got to do your homework. You got to make sure that you're getting references, or you're checking, you know, the licensing board. If for complaints, you're checking Google, not only for the company, but with the people who run the company. Maybe they've got some news out there for them, good or bad. Some common issues that happen when hiring the wrong contractor could be, you know, they don't pick up their phone. You know, the communication, that is a huge issue. You know, you want your contractor to have some sort of customer management, project management software that you can tap into and see the progress of the job. So there's a lot of cloud-based systems out there that you will get a homeowner portal. You can see pictures, daily logs, things that are happening with the job, that you can message your contractor. If they're not messaging you back, if they're not calling you back, That could be some of the problems that you see. Do they have too much work? Here in Southwest Florida right now, we're dealing with Hurricane Ian, and many contractors just have taken on way too much work, and they can't do the jobs that they have well, and they're just kind of putting out fires. So make sure that, that could be a serious problem. When you're dealing with pricing, the proposals and estimates, sometimes what happens is the proposal is unclear of what's included. And when it's unclear, assumptions happen. And assumptions are never good. They never work out in anyone's favor. So it's really important to have a clear proposal, clear understanding of linear footage, square footage, pieces, whatever it is. So it's black and white, not just we'll fix the drywall. How much drywall are you going to fix in what room? And is it going to match exactly, or is it going to be the best of your ability? Those are all things that could be subjective. The less subjective in the proposal, the easier the job's going to go. Another thing to watch out for is underbidding. If you underbid something and you are specific on the numbers, but you underbid it, and then, halfway through the project, it's hard to hire another contractor. You're kind of stuck once you make that initial decision. So make sure to review and understand what's in the proposal. The lowest price, question that. The highest price, question that. Don't just look at price. A $50,000 job or $100,000 for the same job. What if the $100,000 included, gold-plated toilets, right? That were worth thousands of dollars, where the $50,000 didn't. Understand what's in the proposal. Obviously, extreme example, but understand what's in the proposal, and don't just scroll to the bottom of the proposal and look at the price. Understand each line item and why it differs. And hey, if they're apples to apples and one is $50,000 and one is $100,000, there better be a really good reason why you would hire the $100,000 contractor, right? But oftentimes that's not the case. There's legitimate reasons, things that they thought of included or didn't include, that need to be done. So watch out for that. Defining your project scope. So when you're dealing with a remodel, there are a lot of uncertainties because you can't really fully know what's behind the walls without doing destructive investigation. So with that, you do have to make some assumptions, but those assumptions should be clearly defined, meaning we will replace 37 feet of rotten wood, or we will replace 3 sheets of plywood or of drywall. There's a specific number. So we can make assumptions. Hey, we think it's going to be rotted behind the wall. Let's not keep that open-ended. Having a clearly defined scope really allows everybody to be able to use it almost as a checklist. Trying to be as specific as possible in the proposal, not just replace hardware. How many hardware? How many door handles are we replacing? Count, specific counts. It really, really helps. Specific scope of work. The more specific the scope of work, the less ambiguity, the easier the job goes. So you want to really have a detailed scope of work. When you're dealing with remodeling, it's nice to have a budget in mind. So, hey, I have $100,000 I want to spend on this remodel. Here's what we can do. You always want to try to have a budget and an understanding, but understand that during the remodel process, there are sometimes some uncertainty and unknowns. The more uncertainty and the more unknowns, the more likely there will be cost overruns. So if you can do destructive testing and pull off some drywall to see what's behind there, this is especially important in structural situations if we're taking down walls. A lot of the projects that we're doing right now are open concepts. So the homes we're remodeling were built in the 80s, 90s, and they all had formal dining rooms and closed off kitchens. And the first thing that we're doing when we go into a home, usually someone just bought the home or they're just tired of the layout. We tear out the kitchen wall, make it an open concept. We tear out the formal dining room and we make it just one big room. So people can be in the living room and the kitchen and socializing. When you're dealing with, a budget, the more uncertainty there is, the more likely of cost overruns. So if you can do that destructive testing, that's great. When you're dealing with remodeling, there will be cost overruns. 10-20% is not unheard of, especially if you don't have selections made prior to starting the job. If you have your selections made, there's less likely of changes and overrides. If you don't have your selections made and you're doing it as you go, your emotions are going to get the best of you and you're going to spend more money. You are going to upgrade that tile to something you love. And there's nothing wrong with that, because it's going to be exactly what you want, but be prepared that it's going to cost more, right? When you let your emotions and you're it's exciting, you're remodeling your home, it's coming out beautiful, and you see this countertop that you must have. Hey, that's going to cost some money, right? So just be cautious of that it is an exciting process. Especially if you pick the right contractor, it's fun. It's fun to go from an older, shoddy home to beautiful, upgraded kitchens and baths, and just the time that you're going to be able to spend there and the excitement of family time. It's a very exciting thing. So picking the right contractor is vital in the process. You want it to be a fun and exciting process, and not dreading calling your contractor and dreading coming back and seeing what they did next. It can be really great, or it can be really, really bad. So taking the time up front and really vetting who you're going to be working with, exploring their offices, exploring their team, all so important in the contractor selection process. So some of the things you can do to research a potential contractor, referrals, you could either ask them, or maybe you ask your neighbors and friends who they've worked with. Having somebody who talks good and who can refer the contractor is always a good sign. Getting referrals from a contractor, if a contractor doesn't have any referrals, there's definitely a problem, so be careful on that. There's also Google. We all know Google. I'm a big fan of searching the company name and also the main leaders of the company, right? The company is nothing without its leaders. So if the leaders are doing good and or bad, it's going to be out there. So Google their names and find out who they are. The contractor website, the contractor online presence. Are they active on social media, not only on their page, but are they interacting with others? What are others saying about them? Get to know the office staff. Come into the office. Do they have a physical location? Or are they a chuck in a truck? Make sure you know where you can find them, right? If they're a mobile office or something small and temporary, and anyone can rent an office very quickly and throw a desk together. So use that intuition, use that gut feeling, and do your homework. Interview the people that are working in the company, and especially the leaders, and make sure you get along. Those are some of the biggest factors in researching a potential contractor. So when you make the initial contact and the consultation, kind of, watch what they do, watch what your contractor is doing. How are they answering your questions in a way that make you feel comfortable, like they know what they're doing? Having done some preliminary research on the company to see, hey, I saw you got your license 3 years ago. Tell me about that, or, whatever it might be. Anything that raises an eyebrow when you're doing your research, ask about it. If there's a good explanation or good reason, great. If there's not, these are just little notes that you should be keeping, mental notes. You want to assess the communication, the responsiveness, how quickly are they getting back to you with requests? How quickly is the estimate coming back? On the front end, if they're not responsive, they're not answering questions in a good manner, that's a really good sign that, hey, this is when you should be shining even more when you're trying to get a customer. They can't do that. The tail end is it could be problematic. So make sure that you're assessing every interaction when you walk in their office. Are they smiling, or are they grouchy and, complaining around the water cooler, whatever unhappy employees might do? Those are all telltale signs. employees aren't happy, there's a problem. That's going to run off on your job. If, is the warehouse that they have neat and organized? Do they have the tools necessary? Ask for a tour of their facility. That's really important. Checking references and past work. I think that asking references of contractors is a really smart thing. Maybe some jobs and projects that are similar to what you're looking for. Maybe some pictures of their portfolio. Just really important part of the process to kind of ask those questions. Have you done this job before? Have you done a job like this before? What's the closest job you've done to something like this? What makes you think you can do this job well? What are the tools that you will need and are going to use on this job? All really important things when qualifying a contractor. Verifying credentials and insurance. Here in Southwest Florida, licensing is a huge deal. It's not that easy to get. It requires at least 4 years experience or, a college degree and experience. It requires financial literacy. It requires construction literacy. So it's not something that you can just go buy. It does take time to get. And you really want to make sure that people have their license and insurance. You could be held liable. They could be held liable. State licensing for a general contractor is required. And the license numbers are required to be on every form of marketing. So every business card, every truck, every piece of marketing paper that's out there must have their license. They're going to start off with usually a CGC, Certified General Contractor, and or if it's a roofing contractor, CCC. So these are state license numbers that you can look up once you have the number. If the number doesn't line up or match up to the company or to the qualifier, there's a problem. Sometimes people rent out the license. And that's not what you want. That's somebody who's inexperienced, who can't get licensed, who is now paying someone else to use theirs. So you really want to make sure that when you're asking for license and insurance, you find out who the qualifier is. That's the licensed individual. Are they part of the organization? Do you want to meet them and you can't? That's a big problem. Do you want to, what is their role in the organization? That's a huge question. They are legally supposed to be managing the entire operation. Everything falls on their shoulders. So if they're out of town and they just rent this license out, how responsible are they? Speaking of remodeling, I've put together a comprehensive ebook that goes deeper into the details of renovating your home, including design options, sustainable features, and what to look for in a contractor, budgeting guidelines, and more. Click the link in the description below for more information. Reviewing estimates and bids. So you are now asking for a proposal or bringing them into your home to do a quote, or you maybe have a set of plans already, or an idea, a dream that you're looking to do. It's really important once you get these back that you're getting a written, detailed estimate. So it's not something like, we'll remodel your home for $100,000. Okay, well, what does that really mean? No, it needs to be, we're going to remove this amount of flooring. We're going to replace this amount of flooring. We're going to add cabinetry in the bathrooms and the kitchen, and this much cabinetry will go in. Everything is broken down line by line of the exact scope of work. So when you're done, you can say, was this done or not? Check. Was this done? Check. There is no ambiguity in the scope of work. It was, exactly to detail what we're doing, and was it done or not? And that's really important, especially when you're dealing with multiple contractors that you guys are comparing apples to apples, right? If a proposal comes in at $50K and one is at $100K for what supposedly is the same job, there's probably a difference in the scope of work, right? Maybe one's including those gold-plated toilets, or one is not including toilets at all, right? So make sure that you are paying attention to exactly what is included and what's not included. And you're comparing those to be the same price or same estimate. Now, from there, if you have an exact same scope of work and then you have different pricing, well, there may be other reasons, time, or how fast are you wanting it done? Is this something that needs to be done in a week, a month, a year? The longer it takes, does this need to be in a month, a year? Something that's also very important in the proposal is finding out the timeline, right? So if one contractor says 6 months and one says 2 months, well, there needs to be some further investigation. And in that case, I would get a third bid. Where 2 bids are okay is where they're very close, right? They're, 95,000 and 105,000. Those are, a 10% swing. There, I would feel comfortable choosing A or B. Now, if the contractor A was at 50,000 and the other was at 100,000 for the very same similar scope of work, that's when I would say, you know what, I probably should get a third contractor to kind of see where they're at. And if they're closer to the 100 or closer to the 50, you have a better gauge of what's going on. When you're in the process, identifying these red flags, right? So if you have 2 bids and one's 50 and one's 100, there's a red flag there somewhere. Time to get a third bid. If they're both at 100, 98, 102, or, somewhere close to that, that's pretty good. You know that these guys are understanding the job. And now you're at a point where you could probably just have the 2 bids and pick from A or B. Assessing communication and capability. Communication in a remodel project is one of the most important things. You have a contractor in your home tearing things up, things are going to happen, there are unknowns. You want someone who's open and talking to you about the process. You want somebody who has a way to communicate with you formally, an online portal or some kind of customer management, project management software. It's vital. You can follow along. We have a lot of clients from all over the country who have second homes here, third homes here, and we're remodeling. They're 1,000 miles away, and we are able to keep them in the loop that with pictures. They see the progress of everything that's going on via daily logs from our superintendents, our project managers. That's important to know if your contractor has that or similar type of system. It's also very important that you're feeling comfortable and confident with your team. You don't want to find out halfway through that they've never done this before or that their team hates being there and we're all walked out. You really want to feel certain that you can trust who you're partnering with. This is a long-term, commitment. Could be 6 months or plus. Any decent sized job is about 6 months with the planning phase, the permitting phase, and then the actual construction phase. Anytime someone says we don't need a permit, that should be a red flag, right? Counties all want permits for just about anything. You're supposed to get a permit for painting your house. The reason to not get a permit is because you're not licensed for that job and you can't pull the permit. So that is a huge red flag when someone says, hey, you know what, I think we can do this without a permit. No need, permit's not needed. That should be a red flag. Maybe a permit isn't needed, but it should raise the eyebrow for you to do a little bit more investigation. When you're hiring a contractor, there's going to be a contract, and it's going to be really important that you understand everything in that contract. Read the whole thing. The scope of work. Is it detailed? Is there a payment schedule? Timeline? Warranties? What kind of warranty are you getting with your project? A lot of times 6 months, 1 year, if you have a contractor 3-year warranty on remodels, that's pretty good. 3 years is minimum. You should ask for that. If anything goes wrong, they should be there. You're spending a lot of money on this project. They should be there if there's any issues in the end. Now, on the flip side of that, for payment schedule, if there's clearly defined marks, the contractor meets those marks, it's important to pay quickly, 7 days, right? This keeps the job going. The contractor has said and done everything they've said, and same for the client, right? So this is a partnership. We're working together. We each do what we say we're going to do. It's going to be a beautiful partnership, and the job's going to be fun. The job's going to be exciting and very rewarding in the end for the contractor and the homeowner, who's going to be able to spend a long time in their home with their family and have a pleasurable experience of getting it to that point. All right, some common pitfalls in remodeling are going to be these scare tactics or pressure tactics to sign right now, especially after a storm. Anyone who says, hey, you must sign today or it's no good, really that should raise the eyebrow, and you should do further research and investigation and take your time. There's never a time where it's imperative that you must sign right now and move forward. Any large upfront payments, that's usually a bad sign. If they're asking for 50% down, and they haven't started the job or aren't going to start the job, be cautious. 10% at most upfront, and that's when you have a clearly defined start date. Anything more or less than that is a problem. Change orders are going to happen, and it's important to document those, and it's important to have them justify those, because if they can't be justified, you shouldn't be approving a change order. Change orders should be discussed prior to being done, and unless there's a situation where it's going to stop work, it must be done, and the contractor is going to be very fair about it and justify it. So when you're hiring a contractor, there is no one right way. You have to just weigh out all the options and just make the decision based on what's best for you and your family. Maybe that's a big corporation or big company. Maybe that's a small mom and pop, whatever is best for your situation. Some of the things to weigh, as we discussed, is relationship with the contractor, with the employees. Some of the things that you really are red flags: not licensed, not insured. Well, those could be really taken out of the equation. So just make sure when you're hiring a contractor, you're taking into account all factors. What's going to be the best decision for you and your family, to quality of life, peace of mind, making sure that the job gets done according to your specifications and in a great quality manner. Trusting your instincts, that's huge. We've all had that weird feeling sometimes. We just don't trust somebody, or, listen to yourself. If they're giving off vibes that aren't pure, it might be a time or a sign to ask or work with someone else. So just really be cautious. There's a lot of smooth talkers out there. There's a lot of people who do not have your same ethics. No need to rush into something this big. It's really important to take your time through the discovery process and make sure you're comfortable with who you're working with. Once you're there, it's time to sign the contract, right? You've reviewed the contract, you've done your due diligence, you feel comfortable with the team. It's time to sign and move on to the next step. So, signing the contract is step one. From there, you're, going to be asked for a deposit eventually, and then the process starts and the fun starts, and welcome to the team. So there's a lot to do in remodeling. There's a lot that goes on. It's important to really take your time to select the right contractor for you. I gave a great overview on how to choose the right contractor for your remodel. That's why I filmed an entire series that goes deeper into each one of these topics. Click the video on the screen right now and start your journey.